is so godly, it lasted 3 entire years and still finds its way to poke its head into the competitive spot. You would say it would be a divine comedy if you stopped considering this deck to be a legitimate contender year by year. Get it? Divine comedy because they're burning abyss. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go and destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, go ahead and send for 3, because sending 3 is cost with Dante's effect, to hit that notification bell, because, well, we just too strong. I also want to give this time to shout out every single one of my Patreons. Without you, this channel would not be as amazing as it is. I appreciate your continued support, and I hope to give you guys more awesome deck profiles. And while we're here, you guys can go check out my Instagram game, boys. We got the dankest memes on the entire internet. Without further ado, I present to you a competitive Burning Abyss deck profile. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so let's get into the stats of this deck. First of all, I want to just give a mad shout out to Thomas Rose and to you guys, YouTube. We actually were supposed to do a Burning Abyss deck profile on the Monday after a meta-analysis, but because of Thomas Rose winning UK Nationals with Burning Abyss, I scrapped the entire idea I had with Burning Abyss, and then I rebuilt it from the ground up. So this does keep in mind of his build, and I also have some other builds for you guys to play if you guys choose not to play that specific variant. Now, I do think that he caught a lot of people off guard with that Notoria Beast, and I don't expect that to happen again. I expect players to be better than that. I expect them to play, or at least the better players, to be able to play cards to out Notoria Beast without triggering off Saravis. But let's get into this deck profile, starting off with the monsters. 3 copies of Farfa, Malbrink of the Burning Abyss. If you're playing less than 3 copies of Farfa, I really want to say you're playing far from the most optimal deck. Get it? Farfa, the most... okay, anyways. When this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish 1 monster on the field. It's really good for disrupting your opponent, but also another great effect is that you can banish monsters where a link monster points to or in your extra monster zone to free up Zed's zone. It's a really good card. It's great at disruption. One more thing I want to point about, at all the Burning Abyss monsters, that you can special summon them to your side of the field if you control no spell and trap cards on your field. And also, if you control a monster that is not a Burning Abyss monster, this card is immediately destroyed. That clause is actually not a condition, it is an effect, so it can be negated. 3 copies of Scar, Malbrink of the Burning Abyss. When this card is sent to the graveyard, it allows you to search a level 3 Dark Fiend monster from your deck to your hand. It's our reinforcement of the army of the deck. 1 copy of Barbar. This is a card that I actually wanted to run multiple copies, not only because this card does come up a lot in time. When it's sent to the graveyard, you can banish Burning Abyss monsters from your graveyard to inflict 300 damage per banished Burning Abyss, but it also sets up your Orbital Hydrolander plays really well because it can banish your multiple copies of Burning Abyss monsters to keep you having, you know, singular copies of Burning Abyss monsters in your graveyard. But since I only play multiple copies of Skarm and Farfa, then it really wasn't a real point. 1 copy of Seer. This card is limited for a reason. It special summons a Burning Abyss monster from your graveyard to your side of the field. Provides so much recursion, and when it's paired with Dante, it allows Dante to retrieve the retrieve the Seer, and then Seer to special summon the Dante, which is an endless loop of monster presence. 1 copy of Graph. This card is really good. Another limited Burning Abyss monster. We would be playing multiple copies. When it is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Burning Abyss monster from your deck to your side of the field. Really awesome combo with these 2 cards that allow you to make Beatrice Underclock Taker. 1 copy of Libic. Libic is extremely good because when it's in the graveyard, you can special summon a Burning Abyss monster from your hand to your side of the field. But even more importantly, Libic actually negates the monster's effect. So you will be able to summon other monsters or place other monsters that aren't Burning Abyss monsters on your side of the field. 1 copy of Cowcap. This card is back row removal. Really good at ridding your opponent's face downs before you go into your play. And then lastly, 1 copy of Rubric. Rubric is really just a Burning Abyss name, but it is a tuner monster that you can use for a synchro summon into Virgil. And then our last but not least, our honorary Burning Abyss is 1 copy of Tour Guide of the Underworld. Tour Guide of the Underworld can special summon any of these monsters from your deck to your side of the field, and then once you use it for an exceed summon, you can detach one of these monsters and still gain their effects. So it's an extremely important card, and it's another one of those cards that's limited to 1 for a reason. I think there's 14 Burning Abyss monsters, 13 real Burning Abyss monsters, and 1 honorary. Next, we complement those monsters with 3 copies of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. And this card is our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graph, because when it is sent to the graveyard, you can send 1 monster from your deck to your graveyard. That is an amazing effect. I don't want to tell you how many times that Fiendish Warrior Rhino plus any Burning Abyss monster will net you exactly what you need, which is a Beatrice Underclock Taker, a very powerful combo. But even more importantly, when Fiendish Rhino Warrior is on your field, none of your Fiend monsters cannot be destroyed by card effect, or cannot be destroyed. So while you have Fiendish Warrior Rhino, you can special summon any Burning Abyss monsters to your side of the field, and they won't destroy themselves due to their own effect. So that's it for that. Next, we play for our boss monsters. 3 copies of Blackluster Soldier and 2 copies of Orbital Hydralander. Now, I did notice that Thomas Rose's build did not play Orbital Hydralander, and it's not a card that's necessarily mandatory, but it is a very powerful card. It can only special summon by having 5 monsters with different names in your graveyard. You won't believe how incredibly easy that is to summon this guy. But even more importantly, once per turn, you can send the top 3 cards from your deck to your graveyard to destroy a card on the field. So it's a 3,000 body that can destroy cards. Blackluster Soldier is a game ender, and I find it ironic that Blackluster Soldier needs or has to go through hell, similar to what Dante had, to become the person that he is. What this card does is just simply godly. It can attack twice. It can banish monsters on the field. It just basically does it all. When you can't go into your extra deck, you need boss monsters inside of your main board to take care of it. And don't worry, opening multiple copies of BLS, that's a blowout. Opening multiple copies of Orbital Hydralander, more often than not, is a blowout as well. Next, we run 1 copy of Crane. This card is also extremely good. What it does is when it's normal summon, you can target one level 3 monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and its effects are negated. What some people don't realize is that if you open Crane and any Burning Abyss monster, you can special summon that Burning Abyss monster, normal summon the Crane, the Burning Abyss monster immediately gets destroyed because you control a monster that's not Burning Abyss, and then activate Crane's effect, special summoning said Burning Abyss monster to your side of the field for a free play. Crane is just that damn good. It's a terribly awesome card for this deck. But you only need 1 copy. I don't think that multiple copies of Crane would really help. 1 copy of Fairy Tale Snow. This is really what makes the deck. Through a lot of playtesting, I played against a lot of Burning Abyss decks. I realized that this card is a win-all. It's a win-con against Burning Abyss decks. If you played a mirror match, this is going to be a blowout, but even more importantly, it allows you to disrupt your opponent by flipping cards face down, and then banishing 7 cards kind of doesn't really matter. Just being able to flip your opponent's face down card is pretty easy. This deck can send cards to the graveyard fairly quick. So that's it for the monsters that we play. We do play quite a few other monsters, but they're hand traps, and it is a lot of hand traps. I'm just going to give you guys fair warning. Our hand traps are almost like our spells and our traps in the deck because we only play 3 spells. 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Best card of the format. I mean, not necessarily the best card of the format, but one of the best hand traps on the format, preventing the opponent from basically doing anything when it comes to searching. 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Now, this card is a little more important than you think. Not only is it a light monster, it negates monster effects on the field, and Effect Veiler is one of the few hand traps that can be activated multiple times in 1 turn, so drawing multiple Effect Veilers isn't bad at all. 2 copies of Droll Lockbird. Now, this card's extremely good at preventing the opponent to continuously search. 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Snow Rabbit is also awesome for destroying cards on the field, for destroying spells, monsters, traps that are face up on the field. And it allows you to get some board presence as well as being a light monster, or get rid of some board presence as well as being a light monster. I do play 2 copies of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. What I figured out is when I play against Burning Abyss, opening this card is just a blowout. When you play against Pendulum, opening this card is really strong. Sky Striker, really strong. It just makes no sense for you not to play this card, mainly especially since you can make the extra deck room. That would be the only reason not to play this card, is if you can't make the extra deck room. But this deck does a fairly good job at doing that. And then 2 copies of Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. Now, if I ever said that this was a hand trap deck profile, it's pretty much there. We won 14 of them. Ghost Bell is really good because Called by the Grave is just the worst card that this deck can experience. If them banishing your Dantes, stopping any of your hand traps kind of sucks. But Ghost Bell not only gets rid of that, it also stops cards to be special summoned from the graveyard. So if you are playing against a deck that uses Fairy Tale Snow, which is very problematic for the deck, you can Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion it. Monster Reborns, Goki rematches, Trickstar Reincarnations, Graveyard Effect. This card is pretty good at stopping all of that. So 14 hand traps I feel is really good. Of course, we do have a different option for you guys that probably can't afford the hand traps or just don't want to play that many hand traps. And then lastly is 3 copies of Sekka's Light. This is a Sekka's Light build. And the reasoning why I decided to go with Sekka's Light over any other Burning Abyss variant is because I was looking at the spells and traps that Burning Abyss do, often play. And the only cards that I would have missed were Foolish Burial and Soul Charge. And that really wasn't good enough Oh, and of course, Call by the Grave. And that really wasn't good enough for me to not run a Pot of Greed on Drugs. It draws 2 cards, it puts a card from your hands to your deck, so it helps you get rid of your brick hands if you ever do draw them. This deck's pretty good at not bricking, but if you draw like multiple hand traps, you can put them back into your deck. You don't want to draw like 2 Ghost Bells or 2 Ash Blossoms or whatever, and it's just an extremely powerful card, so I decided to play the Seconds Light version. Now, we do have our options, of course. I'm going to talk about Thomas Rose's build, which ran Rescue Cats, Gellis the Starbirds, and Elephants. Now, my version actually plays Paraperil Cerberus, because if you can special summon Rescue Cat or Paraperil with Cerberus with Rescue Cat, you're in a really good position. When this card, when you take damage, you can banish it to destroy an opponent's card. And Gellis the Starbird isn't as good as it looks. The one thing that I did feel about this is that Rescue Cat into Notoria Beast was good. It was good. But here's the problem. Good players are going to find a way around cards like Notoria Beast. And while good players weren't prepared for this card, I'm pretty sure they're prepared now. Kaijus are a really good out, because normally when you summon Notoria Beast, it's your only card on the field. You can't commit any other cards to your side of the field because Notoria Beast isn't a Burning Abyss monster, and it puts you in a pretty tough bind. You can also use the Rescue Cats for Dante's, but I just found a way to make Dante's the original way. And in no way I'm knocking this build. I'm saying it's a pretty excellent build. What he actually ran was 3 Cat, 3 Gellis, and Elephant. I would probably play 2 Cat, 2 Gellis, 1 Elephant, and 1 Parapero, because I just like this one a lot better. Gellis isn't as powerful as we think it is, mainly because it can't pair up with Burning Abyss. It has to pair up with a non-Burning Abyss monster to make that rank 3. But ultimately, that's good. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about is just not running 14 hand traps. What you guys could do is play spells and traps. 2 Call by the Grave, 2 Mass Change, Monster Reborn, Foolish Burial, 3 Infinite Impermanence, Solemn Strikes if you guys can't afford it, and Imperial Order. You guys can just run those inside of your deck and be perfectly fine, because this is still a pretty decent spot. I decided to actually substitute Mass Change in place of the Notoria Beast, because Dark Law, while isn't as powerful or game ending as Notoria Beast, is still a very powerful card, banishing all your opponent's resources. And then the last card I want to talk about that I didn't play, what I actually dropped, but it's still a very powerful card, is Saravis. Now, what Saravis does is, if you can play a really big boss monster that prevents your opponent from doing stuff, you probably want to play Saravis. I don't play Notoria Beast in the main board. I don't play Dark Law. So those are 2 cards that you really, or that Saravis can really take advantage of, and I don't play them. That's why I decided not to play Saravis. But if you're playing either of those builds, this card actually does come in handy. That's it for the main board, as well as cards that are other cards that you could play, other strategies. For the extra deck, of course, we run 1 copy of Beatrice, the Eternal Lady. She is probably the most powerful rank 6 in the game. Being able to send monsters from or cards from the deck to the graveyard is just extremely powerful. Provide that disruption that we need. Also, when it's destroyed to the center of the graveyard, you can summon 1 Burning Abyss monster from your deck to your side of the, or from your extra deck to your side of the field. You only need 2 copies of Dante. Dante can always recurse Dante, but even more importantly, after you use 2 Dantes, it's pretty much redundant right there. This is this go-to card that we go to, mill 3 cards. It can recurse other cards. It becomes 2,500 attack. 3 copies, or 1 copy of DD, Stone King Darius. This is our out to Borlo Dragon, our only out to Borlo Dragon, because making the big untargetable monsters is really problematic against this deck. 1 Super Quanto Mech Beast Grand Pulse. This card's good for back row destruction. 1 Nightmare Shark in case we go into time. That's it for Xyz. For Synchros, 1 copy of Virgil. This card's really good because it allows you to not only disrupt your opponent's graveyard, it forces, it can also force other monsters off the board, and it can replace this up with a draw 1. You don't necessarily have to play this. You can use this for a placeholder for your Dark Law or for your Notoria Beast, but I just thought it was a really powerful card inside of this format. It's 2,500 attack, and it gets rid of threats. For the Link monsters, 1 copy of Borlo Bragan. This card is just awesome, really easy to make inside the Burning Abyss strategy. 1 copy of Decode Talker. This card, oh my god, you can make this card fairly easy. It's extremely good. 1 copy of Underclock Taker. You're gonna make Underclock Taker Beatrice as a part of your combo. Nightmare Phoenix, and that's pretty much, or this is obviously for Spell and Trap Destruction. That's pretty much it from there, like for the monsters that you actually play. Other than the Dante Pilgrim, everything else in this deck is just fair game. So I do run, I do run Winter Cherry Targets, which is Electromite, Ace Kagari, and Isolde. And the reason why I run these is because this is one of the most played decks, this is one of the best decks, and this is the second best deck if you ask me in my opinion, as well as we already have Dante's in the main board for that mirror match. That's pretty much it. The other cards that you guys could be playing, Nightmare Service, card's really powerful. Break Sword's really powerful. Unicorn's really powerful. Summon Sorceress. This is a card that I really wanted to work into the deck, but I just couldn't find a way to make it really powerful yet. But I think that once we get our new Burning Abyss Link monster, it'll be a little different. That's it. Let me show you guys the one combo that this deck has and possibly a couple test hands. Okay, so when I met this deck had one combo. I'm not lying to you guys. It's literally one combo. Now, there are plenty of ways to make it. You can make it with Graph plus any Burning Abyss monster. You can make it with Fiendish Warrior Rhino plus any Burning Abyss monster. And you can also just straight up make it with Tour Guide of the Underworld. I'm going to go ahead and do it with the Fiendish Warrior Rhino because that is the easiest way. So you're going to need Fiendish Warrior Rhino in any Burning Abyss monster. Normal summon your Fiendish Warrior Rhino and then special summon the Burning Abyss monster to your side of the field. Use both of those monsters for an Exceed summon of Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, and then activate Dante's effect, sending the Fiendish Warrior Rhino from your deck to your graveyard to send 3 cards from your deck to your graveyard as well. Go ahead and trigger your Fiendish Warrior Rhino's effect, sending Graph to the graveyard, and then trigger Graph's effect, which is going to special summoning a Burning Abyss monster from your deck to your side of the field. With that, you're going to special summon Seer the Pig. Now, it's really important that you either A, did not open the pig, or B, did not mill the pig off of the Dante. If you do either of those, then you're gonna have to do a different sequence and to get what you want. So now you're gonna use pig and the Dante for a link summon, sending both the Dante and the pig to the graveyard to special summon the Underclock Taker to your side of the field, and then you're going to trigger your pig's effect and your Dante's effect. Pig is going to special summon the Dante to your side of the field, and Dante is going to add the pig. Go ahead and discard the pig Seer to your graveyard to Exceed summon or to special summon Beatrice to your side of the field. Beatrice Underclock Taker is a lot more powerful than you guys think. I did it with basically 2 cards. It's going to recurse me another card once I send Dante to the graveyard through Beatrice's effect, and then Beatrice can send any card I want from the deck to the graveyard, as well as when it's destroyed, it's going to get me another card from my deck to my hand. So let me show you guys a couple test hands. Alright, so on to those test hands, and if you guys want to see this deck in a live duel, go ahead and destroy that like button. Let's try to get to 150 likes to get that. We're going to be opening up with our first hand, and I'm really excited to see what do we have. So, opening up 1 Blackluster Soldier, a Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, a Fiendish Warrior Rhino, a Sekka's Light, and a Burning Abyss monster. Now, Skarm isn't the Burning Abyss monster I really want to use as a part of this combo. It's a monster that I want to discard with the effects of Beatrice instead of sending Seer to the graveyard. So I'm going to go ahead and activate Sekka's Light. That's a free draw 2. We're going to draw Droll Lock and Crane, and that puts us in quite a position because I still want to do the combo, but I don't want to use a monster that's not or I want to use a different monster that's a Burning Abyss. So I'm going to trigger Sekka's Light other effect to shuffle Crane into the deck, and let's cross our fingers and hope we draw a Burning Abyss monster for the most optimal of the most optimal, performances. So drawing into our card, it's going to be, oh my god, a Barbar. I've never been more excited to see you in the opening game. Normal summon the Fiendish Warrior Rhino and then special summon the Barbar to your side of the field, using both of these monsters for an Exceed summon of Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss. Now use Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss to discard the Rhino to send Farfa, Orbital Hydrolander, and a Droll Bird to your graveyard and trigger the Rhino. Rhino's gonna go ahead and send, where are you? Graph's gonna trigger and send, and special summon the Seer to your side of the field. And then next I'm going to use both of these monsters for a link summon of Underclock Taker, as you guys have seen into the combo. That's going to trigger Seer's effect to special summon the Dante, and Dante's effect to add the Seer. And then I'm going to discard the Skarm to the graveyard for the special summon of Beatrice the Eternal Lady. Now I could have summoned Orbital Hydrolander in this combo sequence as well, but I don't have it. I am going to activate Skarm to get Tour Guide from my deck to my hand, and everything's going to be alright. Look at this hand. I already have 2 hand traps to disrupt my opponent. I have a follow-up play with Tour Guide of the Underworld. I have Seer, I have Blackluster Soldier for a really good breakout play if my opponent doesn't stop me. And then I have Beatrice for that complement of just disruption. That's it for that test hand. Let me show you guys one more before we kick rocks. So going into the second test hand, I'm going to be really excited to see what we can do with this one. Because basically, I'm not even going to lie to you, Burning Abyss is pretty much the same with almost every hand. There isn't too much of a difference that you guys are doing with these type of hands. So we're going to open Fiendish Rhino Warrior and Ghost Ogre. This is expected. We run 3 copies of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. We're going to run another Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Okay, that's perfect. And then the Burning Abyss monster, so it kind of doesn't matter. And then Tour Guide of the Underworld. Now, I wouldn't start off with Tour Guide of the Underworld because if you normal summon Tour Guide and it gets Effect Veilered, you're in a pretty bad position. I would start off with normal summoning the Rhino, of course, special summoning the Farfa, these 2 monsters, to make your Dante Effect, to discard Detach to mill 3. And we actually built the Graph, so that's perfect. Graph Effect's going to activate. Rhino's Effect's going to activate. Rhino's actually going to go ahead and send... Where is that card? I'm going to go ahead and send the Skarm through the Rhino, and then Graph's going to go ahead and summon the Pig. These 2 monsters for a Link summon of Underclock Taker. And as you guys can see, my graveyard's pretty packed, but none of them are monsters of the same name. I can always, or I can, not always, but I can almost always summon Orbital Hydrolander with ease. So that's going to special summon you, You's going to add you, then we're going to discard you because we have to make the Beatrice. And then in phase, we're going to gain Skarm's Effect, and that's going to add a level 3 Fiend monster, a level 3 Dark Fiend monster from our decks to our hands. But this time around, since we've already used them, I'm going to go ahead and add Barbar because Barbar will be further disruption. If I do just so happen to mill other Burning Abyss monsters, I can use Barbar to banish them. Thank you so much for watching another segment of the CaliEffect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. This deck is still scary good, and it has the ability to disrupt your opponent. I obviously opted to go more hand trappy instead of Naturia Beast, because the Beast is a great first turn play, but it's not good against prepared duelists, at least in my opinion. Please like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button for that duel video, but most of all, enjoy.